Hey there, I'm Juan Francisco, and I'm a psychic medium. I'm here with you to explore your intuition, the supernatural, and self empowerment. This is Third Eyesight. Terence Harding is the founding member and current pastor and president of the Open Doorway Spiritualist community of Brooklyn, New York. He's a certified psychic medium, intuitive consultant, seance conductor, Reiki practitioner, ordained minister of the Spiritualist Church, and graduate of the Holistic Studies Institute. Terence has been featured in New Yorker magazine and at the United Palace of Spiritual Arts. He is also the resident psychic medium at Awakening NY Healing Center in Port Jervis, New York, where he regularly conducts private individual readings and spiritual message circles. We're talking with Terence today on Third Eyesight. Terence, thanks for joining me today. How's it going?
Going very well. Thank you.
Great. Well, tell us, let's start with where you're based and tell us a little bit about the work that you do.
Sounds good. Well, my name is Reverend Terence Harding. I'm also Pastor Terence Harding. I'm a pastor and president of the Open Doorway Spiritualist community. We are a religious incorporation based in Brooklyn, New York. We were founded as an independent community in 2016, and then we were incorporated in 2019, and I've been running that since my godfather and the original pastor's his transition, so I took over into that role around 2018. Yeah, I believe it was about 2018. I was already kind of stepping into that role. And then I'm just a regular psychic medium, and I have clients here in New York and up in Orange County, up in the Port Jervis area. I do sessions up there and circles as well. I just anywhere else where spirit, I guess, guides me to put in the light work. So.
Awesome. Also, I have a lot of New York noises in my neighborhood too.
Me too.
We are so New York. This is so New York right now.
I can close my window. I apologize, but
it's totally fine. Don't worry at all. This happens. I tell my listeners sometimes, like
I was like, oh, I should have closed the window before I started the heat.
Mine is open, and I've told folks, sometimes you'll hear a siren. Like it's hot. I don't want to put on the heater, but it's also too cold. So
it's proof that I am a New York City medium.
Absolutely. Well, tell us, how did your journey start as a psychic medium? How did you discover these abilities? And you mentioned it sounds like this is something that this acknowledgement runs in your family. I would love to hear more about that and how you've discovered that for yourself in your life.
Well, I would have to say, just right off the bat, I'm very thankful and blessed to have the family that I had growing up, who were very open. My father, he's a wise man and a wise guy at the same time. Always getting a laugh, but also very reflective and a lot of wisdom. And my mother, very creative and very intuitive. And they were all very just open to spirituality. And it was very important for myself and my sibling for them to have that foundation. So I most definitely give a lot of credit to my parents. So yeah, I'm very blessed. To give an example, I remember going to Lilydale when I was a child, and my mother would get readings, and my father, I know he got a few readings over the years, and he would go. My parents would go with my godfather, who was the original pastor of the Open Doorway Spiritualist community, Reverend Paul Baudet, and at that time he was just Dr. Paul Baudet, or just Paul, Uncle Paul, and he was there, and we would kind of explore the forest and the fairy trail, they would get readings. And but most of my spirituality, or at least the foundation of it, was Catholicism. A lot of my education was in private Catholic schools and in the Buffalo, New York area, where I was born and raised, and I guess where I got my start as a human being. Um, and yeah, very was very fortunate to be in a nice place to grow up, and with a great, I have a wonderful sibling, and my parents who were very just open and accepting of not only new ideas but also people. They love connecting with people. I often always had to preface my friends coming over like, "Hey, my parents are going to ask the 20 questions," and but they like making connections. So I feel like that was always very much in my childhood, growing up, and that was a great influence in me. But spirituality, just that was, and spirituality as a whole, we're all spiritual. That I tell people, there's no gaining it, there's no earning it. You already got it. You were born
Agreed.
and you have it. So it's just what can we add to it? What can we brighten it with? What can we bring into our lives, whether it be people and things or experiences. Most importantly, what we can bring into the fold to brighten that. So, um, uh, I lost my kind of train of thought there, but I guess that's the beauty
No,
of
all good,
conversation.
all good.
But yeah, I feel like spirituality was such a something I felt within myself very profoundly as a child. It was something that was very like unmistakable in me, and I feel like it took a while for even in my young adult life to, I guess, come to terms with and understand fully. I didn't fully grasp the magnitude of like my thoughts that I had as a child. And I know that a lot of psychic mediums have a lot of like uh, experiences of seeing spirit or experiencing spirit. And I most definitely, looking back, had those experiences of feeling like someone was looking at me or watching me. Um, I grew up in an old home, um, um, uh, built in the 1880s, and so there's like a lot of energy there, and in a very historical neighborhood and town, and um, but yeah, but that I felt that presence, but mostly it was the energy of people that really was what I was picking up most of when I was a kid, or the energy of something. It wasn't necessarily spirit, per se. Um, like for instance, like when I was a kid, like growing up, I remember riding the car to school. My dad was driving me to school, and I wouldn't want to listen to any music, no noise in the morning. Like I just wanted quiet, just to collect my thoughts. I guess I had a lot of thoughts.
That's rare
um,
for a child, I
yeah,
feel like. Yeah.
and I must have been like I must. This was like kindergarten, up until maybe fourth grade. But yeah, it's just this feeling of why am I here, was a lot of the question I was asking myself, and then I realized later that maybe that wasn't something that a kid should normally be asking. So I feel like it started there. It felt like something within me, but of course I did what um, at the time I thought was a meandering kind of path in life, with different things that happened and experiences and perspectives. Um, but it led me to back to listening to my intuition, back to my spirituality, and what grows that. Not to say that my experiences in the past maybe not connected to my work now is any less spiritual, because it all adds up to my present. Um, but yeah, I just feel like it was something that was this of evolution. Um, and we all have all our individual evolutions of, our heart, our spirit, and the growth of that. Um, and sometimes it's like experiences, but for me, it was just this feeling. Um, Maybe not just one experience per se, but as the more I got involved in spiritual, my spiritual calling, or the feeling of this pull towards doing this work, um, the more I stepped into that, the more I was experiencing, the more consciousness was expanding. So there's a degree of like a lot of it was like me having to step into it and
Right.
and progress, little by little. I had this. I went to Lilydale some years ago as an adult, and I was already a psychic medium and minister, and I was just going for fun. And Buffalo is not that far away from Lilydale. I'm actually underneath this shirt. I'm wearing the shirt, the Lilydale shirt.
Oh wow! I've actually
Uh,
never been to Lilydale. Side
mhm.
note, and I'm really looking forward to the day that I can, and
It's
then
it's a
maybe I'll
very
also get the
very
T-shirt.
quaint little village. It's very lovely. You would
Yeah.
love the energy one, and the people there are very pleasant. Of course, amazing psychic mediums there, um, and the vibrations of being at the um, Temple of Forest there with the stump, and a medium. I wish I got her name, but she was very good. But she stated beforehand, or at some point in between giving messages, that psychic mediumship is like, or your intuition is like playing the piano. It's this ability that we can kind of work on and grow over time and practice on. And we do have our Mozarts, people who are just this born with this gift that is inherent in all of us, and it may be just more developed at the start. um, but there's also we can, people like I consider myself, where I feel like I worked at it. I built it. I trained it as a muscle, um, and continue to do that. Because yeah, no such thing as a 100% developed psychic medium, and at least that's what one of my mentors said.
We're always learning and
And
developing.
I most definitely believe that that we're all working and learning. Even my godfather, on his when he was in hospice, was still learning, and he knew that, which was cool to him to be present for that, where he would talk to me about that process, and having that perspective of being a minister and a psychic medium, and his belief was so profound, and that okay, I'm returning home. That was his belief, and so it was like he got to share a lot about his experience going through transitioning. So yeah, I was very blessed to have that.
Yeah, what a
Him as a
gift.
mentor. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he shaped a great deal of uh, my spiritual work, and my spiritual life. He's very much a guide for me, and yeah, he's very much a godfather figure. Um, yes, he has blessed me with much wisdom and guidance in both his life on this plane, and on the other side as well. But yeah, so that came in my 20s. But we'll talk more about the open doorway in a little bit. But
And what a gift to be in a to grow up in a family that sounded like was very affirming of this realm of things. And I love what you said about, it's all spirituality. I mean, I
Mhm,
kind of remember back when I was a born again Christian, long time
mhm.
ago, there was this phrase of like, if someone says, I don't believe in God, then you say, well, God believes in you, which sounds kind of patronizing. That's pretty patronizing.
Mhm,
With that said, yeah, I believe like, well, whether people believe in it or not, like we are all spiritual beings. It's the basis of everything.
mhm,
And it's not to push any kind of belief on anybody, but it's just what I believe is, sounds like you believe it is what it is.
mhm.
Um, and what was your first experience? Because you did say there was a collective of experiences, but do you remember the first time you, I'm gonna say, proactively channeled as a psychic medium for somebody, or had an experience where you felt like you thought, oh wow, I am doing this?
Uh, the first like conscious experience I had was actually at a wedding. Um, I was considering doing this work. Uh, I was already helping Paul, my godfather, with the open doorway at that time. He would refer to me as his publicist, just to be silly. Uh, um, but I helped him, and we were, trying to grow the community and put the word out there. And I believed in his message and what he was trying to convey, and his abilities as a medium. Um, and Yeah, so I was helping him with the community at the time. So I was already involved in spiritualism, and then I was thinking into myself, I was at a point in my life where I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do with it, with the rest of it, career wise. I felt like I had this purpose or higher calling, and I felt like it just felt like spiritualism and this uh, embracing my intuition was felt right for me. And so, and luckily I had that foundation of my godfather to be able to guide me through that. And, well, you know, he eventually told me that that's what I was going to do. It was more of like, it was like, you're going to do this and I'm going to make sure of it. um, but yeah, I thought I wanted to do this for the rest of my life. Being involved in community building, um, connecting with people, and also the healing and the spiritual growth. Um, Being in that space was um, I felt like everything I wanted in life growing up. I felt like I always wanted to do something spiritual, and even some of my family members early on said, "Oh, he'll be a priest," but no, I didn't end up going that route. um, I thought about it at one point, but it just wasn't my path. Wasn't my path. Um, but yeah, um, hmm. So hmm, well, I lost my train of thought
No,
again.
all good. I think we were going to talk about the experience at the wedding.
Oh yes, the wedding. Yes, my sorry.
All good, all
Hmm.
good.
So yeah, the wedding. I this was yeah around the time where I was like deciding, okay, this is what I want to do from with my life, and I was gonna take about to take that plunge into where I ended up going to train as a psychic medium and intuitive consultant at the Holistic Studies Institute. And that was founded by Stephen Robinson, who is a psychic medium that you probably heard around the Spiritualist Church of New York City, as well as even the Open Doorway Spiritualist community, where a lot of the mediums that come into the community were trained by Stephen. But anyways, backtracking. Um, so I was at this wedding of a friend, and it was in Buffalo. And I don't want to go into too many details just because of the family, but um, my a core group of my friends that I hung out with in high school lost a friend very young. He was only 20 years old and passed. And it was a very big shock to my group of friends who knew him and loved him. He was a very great guy. And yeah, even ran into him one, yeah, it was like one spring. I was just about to go away to New York for an internship. I was in film at some point in my life. That's another story. But um, uh, we thought to, hey, let's hang out after when I get back from my summer internship in New York City and when I come back to Buffalo. And then we didn't connect, and unfortunately passed and had come back. But I was, going kind of back and forth for a few places back, I think New York and to Buffalo for a little bit. So I couldn't connect. And then he passed in September. Yeah, so it was a big deal. And his parents were at the wedding of this friend. Because he was most definitely, his energy was very present amongst this friend group, because one of his best friends was the guy that's getting married. And so and his parents were there, and I just kept seeing him, like with my mind's eye there between and I felt him, and every time I just like, it was this feeling of just like where the hair stands up on your like just but like whole body and tingles, and it just felt like this. Every time I saw them together, I saw Joe between, Joe is his name, between them. And then that's when I uh, started talking to the mother, and I gave her a message from Joe, or told her that he was here, and that he was always between them, her and his father, and that was this just the big thing that just it was kind of a big, like, oh my gosh, like I was leaving the wedding and just was like, what, I don't even realize what came over me to say all that. It was just like I had to say it. There it was this feeling I couldn't let it go, and I had to share that his presence was there, and that he was waiting for them, and so, but a big also experience too was, I was luckily, this wedding wasn't too far from where the house that I grew up in Buffalo. So I got to walk from the wedding reception all the way home. It was just a few minutes away. And so I got to walk in my neighborhood. And it was about maybe a 15, 20-minute walk. And I felt his presence with me walking. And I told him, it's okay. I'm almost home. I'm safe. It's okay, Joe. And I felt the presence leave. I felt that the difference, the contrast. I just felt like that. I was like, oh, I felt that presence, and then now that presence, after I had said, it's okay, I'm you can go, it was gone. And that was like really profound. And I ended up the next day talking to my father about it, and and he encouraged me to keep following it. And so I did. And then once I kind of told my godfather, Paul, that, hey, like, I think I want to do this. He's like, all right, I already figured that out. I already talked to Stephen.
It's
We're
like,
going
I
to go
told you
into,
so.
yep. I'm him and Janet were conspiring. They were saying, okay, we already know this is going to be an eventuality.
Could you share who Janet is? I
Oh,
know who Janet is.
yes,
Yes.
yes, Janet, my good friend Janet. Reverend Janet is the president of the Spiritualist Church of New York City, and a very good friend, very dear friend, spiritual grandmother, um, and she was also good friends with my godfather before his transition, and still to this day is good friends with Paul. She tells me all the time when he plays with her cats.
I love it. And so it sounds like the two of them, they were just waiting for you to say, "I'm ready.
Yes,
Let's
yeah,
go."
exactly. They were just waiting for me to give the thumbs up, and they were like, "Okay." Mhm.
That's amazing. I find that based on readings I've done, readings I've heard other folks do, Spirit loves weddings, and I think it makes
Oh yeah.
sense why, because it's a moment of gathering and
Hmm.
of such a big milestone, and that's that. Thank you for sharing that. That is a
Yeah.
really it's a really moving experience. I could imagine to recount that yourself.
Hmm.
It's a big moment, and I think a lot of us remember our first
Yeah.
experience that made us go, "Whoa,
Yeah.
this is incredible what's going on."
Yeah.
Now, why did you decide to start the Open Doorway Spiritualist community? What inspired you to do that?
Well, it's very layered. One, much like a lot of things in life, but it started off with Paul's actually inspiration. Paul wanted to start a spiritualist community. So um, I have to talk about, in order to talk about the open doorway, I have to talk about my favorite guy, Reverend Paul Baudet. He's one of my best friends and one of my parents. Like my mother always considered him a brother, and same with my father. So he was always around him and my other godfather, Bruce. So Paul and Bruce. It was Uncle Paul and Bruce growing up. Actually, they're just one of their pictures is up there.
Oh,
You
okay.
can't really tell, but that's an apartment that they were in Buffalo. But anyways, so those were my godparents, and Paul grew up New England, Massachusetts, and born in the 30s. But and he was a French Canadian family and Catholic, very Catholic, and his mother was very devout. So that's what he knew. He grew up in Catholicism, and it was going to mass every Sunday, and very much what a French Canadian family would be doing in the 1940s and 50s. But Paul knew he was gay, like by 17, 18. He was like very young. He was like, I knew I was gay. And he lived his life that way after that. But a lot of doors were closed to him because of that. Um, um, this was, of course, being a gay man in the 50s, 60s, 70s, it was not something that you can openly express, and be oneself and love who you choose to love. But he lived his life and had his career. Um, uh, but he also faced some hardships where he was told, even at a young age, that he wouldn't amount to anything by teachers. And At this time, nuns were some of the teachers, and they were saying that no French Canuck would amount to anything. And it was a happy day when he had his name in the Gazette newspaper of his hometown, saying that he earned his PhD. in geography, and that's what he ended up pursuing as in a career, and did that for 30 years. Was a teacher of geography on the college level, and had a very good career doing that. Was a good teacher, um, and it wasn't until much later in life he was always drawn to spiritualism and psychic mediumship and intuition. And my other godfather, Bruce, was also very intuitive. I actually have his crystal ball in the other room. So he
That's
was
so
very
cool.
into. And he was also there in Lilydale growing up. But I was very young. Bruce unfortunately transitioned when I was very young in 1996, and that left a big hole in Paul's heart for the remainder of his life. But that's really what was the motivating factor to finding spiritualism, is that feeling this emptiness that he had. He even told me uh, uh, this was when just before he moved away from Buffalo, and he needed to go on a journey to find himself a bit. And he had to, in order to do that, retrace his roots. So he moved back home. And yeah, he said before that he was very depressed and very lonely, and he wasn't really sure what he wanted to do with his life. He honestly, he even told me, he said, I wouldn't have cared if I died in my sleep and didn't wake up the next day. He was that miserable. And um, and so he decided, okay, I'm gonna go figure this out. So he goes back home, and then he gets involved in spiritualism, and he's at this point a man in his 70s. And that's when he doesn't get ordained as a minister until it was 2009 was when he got ordained, and he was born in 35. So, so he didn't get into this until much later in his life. But yeah, he had often these doors closed, and people who had told him no. And he's a Capricorn, so he's like, okay, well, I'm not going to listen to any of that. I'm going to do my thing and charge forward. And yeah, he went this spiritual route and got ordained with the Holistic Studies Institute and the Spiritualist Church of New York City. And yeah, he was just very inspired to create a community where he could include everyone. He could open the doors and accept all walks of life. And it did not matter what, race, creed, sexuality, it didn't matter, identity, it didn't matter. The doors are open to you. And spirituality and intuition is for everyone to experience. And so he really believed that and wanted to support that message. Yeah, so I remember he got ordained in 2014. And I actually was the one that put the stole on his shoulders during that ceremony, and it was very meaningful for me. And a year later, he asked me, "Hey, I want to start a spiritualist community, and I want you to help me." And then I was like, "Well, of course, Paul, I will." And so that's what really started my involvement in it. But yeah, Paul, it was really his inspiration, and he came up with the name, the Open Doorway, and gathered pieces and collaborated with them. The logo that we still use today was done by a friend of his, and he was putting his own retirement kind of. He retired on a teacher salary, which was not too bad at the point that when he retires. And he was, just he was paying for, just to build a community, put the message out there. And so, he paid somebody to build a website and stuff like that. And then I helped him kind of like get the word out there. But yeah, it all started with him, and then I got more and more involved, and then when I started doing training at the Holistic Studies Institute, is when that's when we found out that he had stage 4 cancer, um, uh, and yeah, it was at that point there wasn't much that could be done, and he was 82, and very malnourished at the time, because it had been a few months of him not really sure what was going on, knowing that there was something up, but nothing conclusive in the tests that were going on over some months, and then it just it was stage 4 cancer right off the bat, and he did about 3 weeks of chemo, and it just that was not something that he was interested in doing any after the 3 weeks. It was like, okay, no more of that. And they were like, you would just be really saving yourself months. And so but he was in hospice for 2.5 months, and got to have a lot of time with him and talk with him, and a lot of spiritual conversations. And he told me, he said, okay, this is for you. This is, if you want to take this on and, take on the open doorway and continue the work, it's meant for you. Or he even said, or maybe even just start something completely new on your own. Doesn't matter, whatever you want. But this feels like this was meant for you. Not, I started it, but you to continue it. And so, and it felt that way for me as well. And at that point, this was 2018, and we had already started doing services on a regular at 2016. And we already built up a family, a nice group of people that were coming, and receiving messages and healings from Paul and his psychic medium and healing friends. And then now, and now me, I bring a lot of the the connections I meet in the spiritual work that we do. We connect to other people who do this work, and I'm like, hey, come to the open doorway. I love changing up the energy, because just as much as there are people in the world, there are infinite ways that we can go about healing, and expressing that. And we should be open to trying to explore also those other energies as much as we possibly can. Yes, see what works.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you started sharing how there were so many doors that
Mm-hmm.
were closed for him,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I realized, oh, this is where the name comes from. And I
Yeah,
was very moved when you
yeah.
mentioned that.
Mm-hmm.
And what a tribute for you to be the steward of running this community. And I've been
Mm-hmm.
to, for listeners, I've been to one of the message circles run by Reverend Terence Harding, and it was quite wonderful. And it was, I'm part of another circle, and I've been
Mm-hmm.
to other circles before.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I have to say that yours, not that this matters,
Mm-hmm.
however, the amount of people, I was so wowed about, wow, there's a really great large group of people, and it just
Yeah.
shows how hard you've been working on it. And I
Mm-hmm.
think you should be very proud of yourself.
Oh,
And
I appreciate that.
absolutely. And I'm excited to go to another message circle, hopefully in a
Well,
couple days.
we're happy to have you one, really.
Yeah, it was
Um,
a wonderful experience to hear people. I mean, I did receive messages, but I always love hearing how other psychics and mediums deliver messages, because it's, I mean, it's, I consider that training
Oh
in
yeah.
real in action, right? It's like
Oh
to hear how
yeah.
other people communicate, how they channel. That is part of my own development.
Hmm.
So it's always super helpful.
Yeah, I love seeing how different mediums work. And that's the beauty of spirit, is that it utilizes our own personal experiences and skills and those abilities. And it may manifest. I know mediums that they're just getting songs in their head. I get sometimes songs. Spirit puts songs in your head, and you're just like, okay, I gotta go with this. and it
Yeah.
and it always just it always like spirit feeds the, okay, this is okay, feeding the next thing after that, and then it just forms into this message that resonates with the person you're connecting with. And so, yeah, I know, I just really love that, seeing others work in their ways, or at least how spirit manifests in that way.
Yeah,
Mhm.
totally. Now, last question.
Yeah, okay,
What
sorry.
is, what's one misconception about your work and what you do that
um,
you wish you could debunk here and now?
well, I feel like one, I even kind of talked a little bit about it. I feel like I get a lot of people that come up to me and say, you're so gifted, or it should you and like, I wish I was could be doing what you're doing, or I wish I was that intuitive or psychic. And the word of, like, they always throw gifted out there, and I say, yes, it is a gift, but it is a gift given to all of us. It's not for the few or select. It is for all of us to develop and grow, and every person. And so, um, uh, and yeah, and I truly believe that, and that's really the core of the open doorway, what we want to put out there. And it was Paul's dream to have a community of like-minded individuals who believed in the divinity in all of us, he would always say, which is that intuition.
Yeah.
So
That's beautiful. And a metaphor I often use is, I believe we are also, I also believe we're all psychic. We all have the
mm-hmm.
intuition we can tap into. And I
Yeah.
believe that all of us can practice mediumship, every
Oh
single
yeah,
human
most
being.
definitely.
Do I believe that some people are born with a different propensity?
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps. I
Yeah.
always use them. This is the metaphor that you have Adele and you have Lady Gaga. They're both
Yeah.
great
Yeah. No,
singers,
but that's
but they sound different, but doesn't make
no,
one a better singer
absolutely
than the
right.
other, right? In my
Oh,
opinion.
most definitely.
And so one medium may seem quote unquote better.
Yeah.
They really just channel differently.
Yeah.
And so I think
I
when I
believe
first
that too.
started out, like self comparison was
Hmm.
an imposter syndrome that definitely were
Oh
things
my
that I
gosh,
that
yeah.
I let hold me back, right? And
I've
so
had that too. One, no question about it.
yeah,
It's part of the process of it. Because you are still a human being. You're still having to figure this out.
right,
This life,
right.
the life stuff, and yeah, that you may have more kind of a finger or a sense to what's around the corner, but there's still there's still a lot that is unknown to all of us, and that's the whole point of why we're expanding our consciousness, or at least all trying to grow and learn from these perspectives, is so that we can um, ultimately be the best person that we can possibly be. At least um, what my father would say.
Yeah, and I agree
or
with your
and I
father.
say, but yeah, just this this self reflection to then allow for that outer reflection to occur. Like we can't we have to process what's internal in ourselves in order to be able to process the things that go out on the external around us. But yeah,
Absolutely.
but that's me rambling. See,
No, 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 but that's exactly what I'm talking about. Thank you for
that's another
expounding
thing
on
that's
that. Yeah.
spirit gifted me the gift of gab. So
You know,
my mother
I
always said I was a talker.
I used to get in trouble all the time in class growing up for talking. So I think Spirit knows what they're doing when
Oh
they.
my
Well,
gosh,
I
yeah.
don't want to say they pick us because then it sounds like a gift, but it makes sense.
I had a history teacher that I got on this phrase. I would always kind of interject in class, not rudely, but have I would say I had my 2 cents to put in, and then he started charging me the 2 cents. So then I had a coin jar on my desk, and then he had to yell at my classmates for giving me money during the so that I could keep
That's
making a comment.
That's hilarious. I wish I had that experience so I could
Uh,
have collected some money from classmates. Because
it was just
oh my
a
gosh, that was
yeah.
literally on my report card. Sometimes the feedback Juan talks a lot
Oh
in
no.
class. So, but yeah, uh, yeah, I think so when it comes to self comparison,
Mhm,
um, I think I realize now that that was like my ego side, if we want
mhm.
to call it that, or shadow side that wanted
Yeah.
to be better than other
Mhm.
people or be a better medium or
Yes.
have like a tear jerking moment like they have on
Mhm.
TV, et cetera, et cetera. And I realized sometime after that that that's not what it's about. And we're
Yeah.
all here to do this work.
Mhm.
And when I hear somebody channel in a way that maybe I've never channeled before that way and it really drives something home, I think it's like, wow, we're like I get to witness this.
Mhm.
This is amazing to witness someone else do this for
Mhm.
somebody else. Um, but yeah, this has been an awesome conversation. Can you tell folks how they can find out more about you, find out more about the Open Doorway Spiritualist community?
Yes. Thanks, Juan. I really appreciate you letting me kind of just talk. I felt like I hope I gave you time to breathe in my talking, but
This is what an interview is all about. You're all good. You're
I
good.
appreciate it. But so awesome talking with you. But yes, people can find us online at the Open Doorway Spirituals. Excuse me, the Open Doorway Community .org. Here, let me see if I can. Yeah, excuse me, Open Doorway Community.com. Then I have my own website of Rev Terence Harding .org, where I do my personal readings, intuitive consulting. But the Open Doorway Community.com is where you can go on and subscribe to our newsletter. We have a great newsletter. We have some amazing people who contribute. We have an astrologist who is fantastic, who puts out a monthly report of the month coming up, and gives kind of a day by day, play by play of what's going on planetarily, and then just events for the community. But we're also just we love getting together and seeing new faces, and yeah, we just really love welcoming new energies into the Open Doorway family. So yeah, everybody's welcome.
And I felt nothing but welcomed. I felt very welcomed when I joined the last time. That was my first time, and you will see me again. And also, your newsletters are great. As someone who tries to do newsletters, I aspire
Yeah.
to your newsletter.
Well, every day is improvement, Juan. Every day we're working
That's
on
right.
it, fine tuning. It's but I appreciate it. That is a because I was gonna say your website is incredibly professional. I'm very impressed.
Now we're just flattering each other.
Yeah, oh, yeah, we're just flattering each other. And your Instagram is so much fun and also incredibly informative. I learned something from it every time I go on it. So I really appreciate you putting out your knowledge and yourself out there.
Well, thank
Um,
you. I'm excited to continue showing up in your community and meeting more people like yourself. So very grateful we've created this community in New York City. I know it's a global community because anyone can
mhm.
join on
Yep,
Zoom, but
yep,
it's
we're on
fun to
Zoom.
be a
But
fellow New
hey, around
Yorker.
the corner in person, most definitely is around the bend. But yeah, we'll always do online and hybrid. But yeah, that's kind of a new thing in this kind of this modern era. But
Yeah,
yeah, it's a
totally,
beautiful thing that we get to
totally.
connect.
Yeah. Well, Reverend Terence, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for chatting
Oh,
with me.
that was my pleasure. Have a wonderful rest of your evening there. One.
Hey, are you liking the supernatural and self-empowerment talk? Then follow the podcast and please leave a review. If you want me to talk about a specific subject on the podcast or you have a question for the podcast, go to juanfranciscospirit.com and go to my contact page and submit that question.